3, 2, 1. Here we go. We are live. Hello, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for being here. It is finally season 2 of the RazCast. We have some beautiful people here. First and foremost, I have my lovely co-host here, Mr. Fresh Baked Goods. Woo!
Hello.
Fresh Baked Goods. Hello, hello. And we have the guest, which today is an honorary guest, Mr. Gooms from Operation Harsh Doorstop. Not to be confused
Doorstep.
with correct.
Your band means nothing on the stream.
So welcome. It's super exciting to have you guys again. Fresh and Gooms, thank you so much for being here. Just a couple housekeeping things. If you're brand new to the RazCast is run every Saturday. This is season 2. We usually have a guest every week. And how it's gonna work is basically it's gonna be we're gonna have a guest each week to talk about a different thing. And then when we have them, you guys can open floor any questions you want. Just ask them right in the chat. The chat will be here. And then what happens is if we don't get to your question right away, do not worry. I'm writing down the questions as well. So at the very end, after our preset questions here, we'll open the floor for any questions that were missed that may not pertain exactly to the situation or the topic, or we'll just ask them right at the end. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get to our guest. So again, this is Mr. Gooms. So Gooms, who are you? Like, well, why should we listen? No,
So I'm the lead community manager for OHD. I also help out in the background with really none of the technical development stuff. I actually do a lot of the business related stuff. I read a lot of contracts. I talk to the lawyers. I work with the CPA. I help with the tax prep, bookkeeping. That's kind of all my background. I actually used to be a realtor for almost 10 years.
Whoa.
Awesome.
And I have a business degree and all that. So that's my forte. That's my background. The community management stuff. I just have been involved in a lot of these communities for a while now, and I've just kind of networked a lot and gotten to know a lot of people. And so it just kind of like segued into that, and it kind of just was like a natural fit. So the front facing stuff, I do a lot of just the community management stuff, answering questions, being here on a podcast, things like that. And then in the background, I'm usually working with Blue Drake. I guess I'll state that for the whole purpose of the podcast. When I say Blue, I mean Blue Drake. I am also like, anytime you see him do a sponsorship or anything like that, that's me behind the scenes usually.
Oh, cool.
Working with the company's clients, all that kind of stuff as well. I also actually manage a number of other YouTubers as well. Tacta Gamer, Shermanator. Used to manage,
Sherman's
used
our boy.
to manage.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
No, Sherman. Yeah, dude. Sherman's fucking dope, man.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah, I love Sherman.
I had no idea. I had to talk to him about that.
Yeah.
That's
So
funny.
the times you've seen him do sponsorships, that's usually us
Small
in the
world.
background.
That's so funny.
helping
That's
out with
crazy.
that stuff. So basically, the way that we do that is we kind of just do like inbound, right? So any kind of we don't do, we're not like an agency. We're just doing management, and we just kind of handle inbound. So
Gotcha.
When an email comes in like, hey, we would really love it if you'd play our game, we would like to sponsor you, blah blah blah. I'll be the one, usually either myself or one of my associates will be the one replying to that, managing that, trying to help make sure like all the deliverables are hit on time, all that kind of stuff. I also used to manage Karma Cut as well, but he moved on to an agency that does also outbound stuff. So they like will do outreach and try to acquire deals and stuff. It's just something I don't really have time to do as outbound, but I actually also still help him with like the tax prep, the book, that stuff too. I mean, I actually Karma Cut and that whole group of those guys are like pretty much my daily friends I actually hang out with on Discord.
Oh,
We
that's
do.
awesome.
I don't know if you've seen any of his recent Arma stuff, but
You're in it.
yeah, I run the weapons squad. So
That's
I'm the
that's
guy
awesome.
with the machine guns and kind of telling them, hey, gun 1, gun 2, gun, like all that kind of stuff, right? So
That's cool, man.
so yeah, so I'm around the space, tactical shooter space. I'm friends with a lot of the guys, and I'll yeah, either in a business context or just gaming with them, whatever. So yeah, so that's pretty much my background in a nutshell as far as all of this stuff.
And so, how did you make the jump? Like, what was the day when you're like, I'm not selling property anymore. I'm going.
Well, because
Game.
so I said I've been doing it for a long time. I'm probably younger than you think. I mean, I'm in my early 30s.
Oh, you're right around me
I
then.
got licensed when I was 18.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
And
Nice.
I was in that stuff like while I was in college and just kind of like really just head first in the deep end, right? And yeah, I was doing that, and then at the same time, I've always been a gamer, and I have always been into like the milsim stuff, and it wound up just kind of like segueing into an opportunity where it was like, you know what, there's like something here that I think has potential. There's opportunity. I'm young. If I'm gonna take the risk, what better time than
Yeah.
now when I
makes sense.
can afford to do that? My health is good. You know, I don't got to worry about, all that other extra stuff, right? So, yeah, I just, said, just diving in head first, basically, and just see
That's
where
awesome.
it goes, right? So,
That's awesome. What other games have you been involved in aside from Operation Harsh Doorstop?
so this is the only one that I've been involved in this capacity, but I've
Gotcha.
worked with a lot of the other games in the space. One of the other companies, it's another company that Blue, myself, and another business partner own, called Blacksite. That's actually the management arm that we do all the sponsorship stuff and all that kind of stuff. But we have worked with other companies in the past, more in either a marketing or a consulting capacity. So, like for example, did you all play Sandstorm when it released?
Sure. Yeah.
Not when it first released, but I actually recently got the chance to play it.
Okay. If you looked at the Steam store page when that game first released, for about a month straight, there was 24/7 live streams. That was our company that put that on, sourced all the
Oh, what?
creators, all that kind of stuff. We did the same thing for Scum. That was actually our very first one. That was our biggest one too. That stream hit like 68,000 like viewers or
That's
whatever. It was
insane.
pretty insane because that game was like super hype, right?
Yeah.
But we kind of worked with them in that capacity, and but prior to that, I was actually like playing Scum for like a solid maybe 6 to 8 months before it came out, and I was like, honestly, I'm probably one of the only people reporting bugs and giving like really detailed feedback and stuff. So I've always been interested in doing stuff like that as well. But yeah, we did that for those. Got a really good relationship with the SCP Pandemic guys. They're now SCP 5K. They just did a name change. If you ever looked at their Kickstarter campaign, we helped them put that Kickstarter campaign on, and kind of consulted with them. A lot of the YouTube coverage and a lot of that stuff was like networking that I was doing in the background, just kind of like trying to get their game out there, and stuff like that. And they wound up funding, which is really cool. And now they're really taking off, which is like super cool to see, because I remember meeting them years ago, when we were actually originally talking to the Ready or Not guys about doing the same thing, and we did their big reveal podcast. That was like, that whole podcast thing was like my outline that I wrote. I asked the community, like, what do you guys want to hear, blah blah blah. We did a whole thing for that, and that didn't wind up working out. But like, yeah, we met those guys at that time, back when they were making that game on OWI Core, Squad's framework, and then they wound up leaving that to make their own framework, and now they're doing their own thing, which is really cool to see them like independent and like really succeeding and everything.
Yeah.
So when they did their rename, they also did like a live stream thing. We've done a few of those for those guys. I talk to them pretty often. One of my other business partners in that company, Devil Eyed Elvis, he's actually a class 3 FFL. He works in the firearm industry. He's actually the guy who does all of the licensing for Ground Branch and all
Oh,
of their guns. Like if you see like Terran
yeah.
Tactical Mags, and that's him.
Oh,
Behind the
that's
scenes,
cool.
that it's like helping with that stuff, and so he helps them too. He and I talk a lot about the gun stuff for OHD, so we've done a lot of consulting there as far as like the firearms go and all that kind of stuff too. So we're all over the place, honestly. Like
That's
we're
so
kind
cool
of a
that it's all
behind the scenes
connected.
group. Yeah. We
Yeah.
just network like crazy, and we just try to get into the things that we're interested in. So yeah, that's pretty much like the other stuff I've essentially. Yeah.
So not to get too off topic, but I really you
Yeah.
really caught my attention because like one of the things I really love doing is networking, and we have a lot of folks here in my Discord, and a lot of my close friends are also content creators and things. So clearly you've worked with some pretty large names and a lot of content creators, as well as obviously helping develop this game. Had the network and do a lot of licensing or whatever the case is. Like if you were to give a new content creator just a word of advice on networking
Sure.
and its importance, like how do they get started and why is it important, you think?
Yeah. So, man. So, I mean, if I could sum up networking, um, if the places you want to go in life, you have to go through doorways, and there are oftentimes people that hold that door open or they shut it, right? And networking is extremely important. Um, who you know is really important. It's a great way to cross pollinate, get into
Yeah.
other communities, get your name out there. That's something that I've really I try to help a lot of the others. I really love working with like smaller creators personally, because they I don't know, it's just interesting to me, like kind of like the grind and
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
getting in
yeah.
that mentality, and it's hard, man. Like honestly, like I wouldn't want to do it. Knowing what I know, I wouldn't want to do it. It's a lot of work, and it's more stressful than I think people think it is. But I mean,
It's
honestly,
called a
like the
grind
best
for a
advice.
reason. Like
Yeah,
people don't
totally.
realize that.
But
It's like
It's a whole
the
job
whole
you barely get paid
yeah.
for
content
when you start
creation
out.
though, the thing that makes it so much of a grind right now though is that everybody and their mother wants to be a content creator,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right.
So it's extremely saturated, and it's really hard to set yourself apart and to be actually truly unique and differentiate yourself. um but I mean, like the biggest advice that I usually give to new creators, networking is obviously one big one, is just network. You never know when you wind up in a game, in a squad with somebody that, might turn you on to their audience, and they might really resonate with you. That's definitely a really important one. But beyond that, I would say just like upload, make content. Like I see way too, and I don't think this is just a content creation problem. I think we see it in photography, music, all that kind of stuff. Like you don't need a $10,000 camera to get into photography,
Right.
right? You need to go out and take
You need to get
pictures,
up,
right?
you
Like
get
you can
content.
take it on a disposable camera for all I
Yeah.
care. The rule of thirds still applies, right? Like
Mhm.
it's all it's all still relevant. And I oftentimes see a lot of creators, and what's really funny is because like I have a real estate background, and in real estate there's actually a lot of parallels, because you may
That's what I
work
was
for a
thinking
brokerage,
too.
but they don't give you deals. You have
Right.
to go get those deals.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
I've knocked doors in a suit in 90-degree weather, right?
Dang.
Like I've done that, right?
Yeah.
But and you had like I used to work for one of the most prestigious brokerages in the Bay Area, or San Francisco. They don't give you stuff. You have to go, you sink or swim, right? It's the same thing in content creation. You sink or swim. You have to get out there. You gotta upload. I think early days, people get way too hung up on like, oh, I don't know, like my thumbnail, my title, like
I'm not
it's
getting
like,
any
dude,
views. I've uploaded
you
2
just have
videos.
to
Yeah.
upload.
You have
right?
to get
Just
something up there.
Just do it, right? Just do it, right? and you'll like my college education background is in business with a focus on entrepreneurship, which is like starting businesses, right? And one thing that is like a key thing that I remember learning is, you know, everybody fails, and the key is to fail as often as possible until all that's left over is success, right? You just have to kind of like run into the wall over and over.
Yeah.
But the key to that is that you want to fail early and for cheap. And when you're a brand new creator, that's the best time to do it. So getting too hung up on, you know, what you're doing and like, oh, my thumbnail, and like just stop. No one's gonna care in like 2-3 years from now, right? When you've uploaded 200 videos or whatever, right? Like that, you're gonna grow into it, but you have to actually get into it. In real estate, I used to have a broker who was very inspirational to me, and he made a great point to me. He used to say, you know, if you prepare to prepare to prepare to prepare, you're never going to execute. And sometimes you just got to execute, right? You can't constantly seek perfection or whatever. You just have to execute, because a lot of people get trapped in that and they never execute. So if you execute, you're doing something different. Right.
Yeah, I think that's good advice. I mean, I know we're kind of going off to the rails here already, but yeah, it's crazy, man. When people
let's
keep
start
going.
out,
I love
and
this stuff. So
they
yeah, we
dive,
can keep going, man. Yeah.
they make videos, they stream, and they put so
Yeah.
much time into just the most minuscule things. It's like, dude, you're gonna keep changing your mind about everything. You just
And
gotta
like,
upload what you want to upload and learn from it, and just keep going and going. And the more you can
Yeah.
improve and improve.
yeah, I find that small content creators too. Like again, I'm not big in any sense, but like newer content creators, right? Like they put all their eggs in one basket too, and it's like I'm gonna go ahead and get big on
Yeah.
Twitch. It's like, well, that's not how it works. Twitch is not a discovery platform. It's like a
You can't do
sustainment.
that anymore. Once
Yeah.
upon a time, you were able to pick one platform, but nowadays, I would argue you
gotta
have
be
to
everywhere.
everywhere.
Have to
Yeah.
diversify.
It's like you don't
Mhm.
want to do the social media. You don't want if you're not posting on TikTok right now. I don't know what
Yeah,
you're doing, man.
exactly.
Like that's kind of how it is. You just gotta adapt and go with it.
Um, Cass asked, "What advice on networking would you give for a small, independent, and aspiring game company,
Hmm.
or in general for a startup game company working on their first project?"
Yeah, I mean,
That's kind of goes back to
it's
Operation Harsh
tough. It's
Doorstop, right?
yeah, it's tough because I think we're a really unique uh use case, I guess you could
Right.
say,
That's fair.
because it is an influencer ran studio, and we have been able to, I think, get away with how we set certain things up
Mm,
because of that. Whereas if you're a small fledgling studio, and you don't know anybody and you're not well networked, it's hard, right? It's hard to get in front of people. I mean, the product will always speak for itself. So I mean, the best advice I could always give is like focus on your product. I mean, all of us in here have probably been gaming long enough and have been late night in the Discord chat with friends where you're like 20 pages deep on Steam looking for a good game to play,
That's
right?
like
Yeah.
Because
Raz
you're
and I
just
every
tired
night.
of everything.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly, right. So what I've always kind of said is like, you know what? If your game is good, people will find it, right? Like you don't have to do like the big mass marketing pushes that a lot of these companies do. I always like to use Tarkov as an example.
Yeah.
Tarkov Tarkov never sponsored any creators. Maybe more recently. I don't know if they have. I've never seen a hashtag ad sponsored Tarkov video ever in my life. But like they really did something unique, and people really just loved the product, and so they stuck with it through thick and thin. um and I always use that as an example of like that game has succeeded in many regards without the need to like go down the traditional paths that I think in game development are often kind of touted as like, I like to call it like the playbook, right?
Mhm.
Or
Yeah.
like, the status quo playbook kind of in a
Like the
sense where like
million battle royale games right now. It's like it just gets lost, right? But like the first
I can
couple
tell
of, like,
you, I could tell you as someone who manages a lot of creators how many emails we get of like, hey, will you check out my, or whatever,
oh
like,
my
hey, I'm
gosh,
just
for
really,
sure.
blah blah blah. So I see that. I see it from all that. That's actually another thing that I think is kind of a unique angle here is like I see that from the creator side, and I speak to plenty of developers that like they don't understand content creation at all. They don't
Mhm.
understand at all, right? So yeah, like I don't know. I think just like focusing on the product, you get it out there where you can. I would say try not to like, follow the status quo too much. It's also a super saturated space, just like content creation. There are tens of thousands of games on Steam. There's constantly new games coming up on Steam and other platforms. You gotta do something to set yourself apart. You have to innovate. I think that's the big thing that a lot of games today are really just lacking. They're just not innovating. And that ties into the philosophy of OHD in some regards, and the free aspect and all that kind of stuff. You know,
Y-
just to kind of tie it into OHD a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah, yeah. So that's what I was gonna ask next. I
Yeah.
mean, like,
Mhm.
so we have a lot of
Give
viewers
us the
here.
elevator description, elevator
What
pitch
is
of
it?
OHD. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so
Why we're here for today?
OHD, yeah, OHD is like a tactical shooter slash milsim framework. Um, we do offer a base game because we didn't want to just do a straight up sandbox with zero direction. But the base game, and I think this is something that a lot of people have kind of,
People
if you're
getting tripped
brand
up
new
on it.
coming into the game and you don't know anything about it, it's easy to, I think, make that mistake, which is totally understandable. But like, they'll play the base game, whatever, and kind of take it on face value, which is fine. That's we put it out there. We're open. We've opened ourselves up to that reception, of course. But like, the whole idea though is that it's a framework for people to come in and the community to kind of create the experience that they want to be. Does not mean, I want to clarify because I know people will kind of jump to conclusions, and it's a hop, skip, and a leap towards, oh well, you just want modders to fix the game or make the game for.
Yeah.
No, that is not at all what we have said. We want, just because we want to give you the tools doesn't mean that, we want to like, just like pass it off to the community like that. We just want to empower the community. We obviously are making our own content. I see the content that we're making as more of building asset libraries and stuff like that like the community can take. Like, we had a guy come in the other day who's like, yeah, I want to make like an ISIS faction, which is like,
Oh,
to
God.
expect, right?
Jesus.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
you know what? Cool, right? Like that could be a faction that a lot of people are like, yeah, I want to like,
Yeah.
I want to like replicate fighting ISIS in the Middle East or whatever, right? And I'm like, you know what? That would be dope. You get the character models in. We have AKs, we got RPGs, we got PKMs. You can reuse those things, right? We don't, it's not like, oh yeah, here, go take it, make it. Like we're creating that framework so people can kind of take it, pivot it, shift it into whatever they want. I'm a longtime Arma player. Obviously, we kind of touched on that earlier. I kind of touched on that earlier. It's kind of similar in Arma, right? Like, nobody plays the vanilla content, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like they buy the game and they get into like some of the really comprehensive and detailed mods and stuff like that, right? Obviously that took time to like mature. But yeah, that's kind of like a similar concept there. I guess you could also look at like Gary's mod, things like that as well, where it's like, what is the game in Gary's mod? Well, I mean, is there actually like a vanilla game that people play in that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not
I just
really,
find it interesting
right?
because you got I really do appreciate, it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't thing with the base game. But I think a lot of people appreciate it because it shows, what the potential is there. It's like a sneak peek of like, this is what you could be making. It's not
Right.
it's not anything that's like, okay, this is what you have to play, which I think a lot of
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
have a misconception about.
And
yeah, and I've kind of always said that, like, the base game, it's we just kind of have a direction that we take with it, and then we just go, because we can't please everybody. So at a certain point, we just need to make certain design decisions and make our own base game. And really what that is it's more of a demonstration of what is possible. It doesn't mean that we're not going to make the content or anything like that, but it's meant to be more of a demonstration of like, you could make this right now, and it's really just like a matter of swapping out assets and like whatever, you know so yeah.
we have some good questions here in chat, and
Mhm.
again, I'm not gonna do all the questions right now because if you guys have
Yeah,
questions,
there's a couple
again,
I would like to reply to. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
I've been
yeah.
watching.
So, by the way, first, Liberator, thank you for the 10 subs. You are a absolute goat. You are insane. Thank you so much. So Katz is one of the game developers, and you guys probably remember him if you guys have been following me for a little bit. He's part of Chapter Mercury, which is a partnered development studio with Postscriptum. He has a lot of questions, and his questions are really interesting because obviously this is
Mhm.
coming from like a game developer sense of mind, which
Yeah.
I really appreciate. So I think the first question I want to ask here that Katz asks is kind of, I think, well, the thread we're going on in reference to the monetization. I think this is way different than a
Yeah.
lot of other games, right?
Mhm.
So,
Yep.
do you have a plan on monetizing
Yeah.
the project? Is it through content or even future
Your
DLC?
friend here, Liberator, just demonstrated that concept when he gifted all those subs. Okay. There are Twitch streamers that are
Yeah.
making multiple magnitudes larger than our annual budget off
Mhm.
of Twitch subs and donations. Our model is basically like a trust fall. The monetization is if you feel like you would have paid money for this and you believe in the vision and you want to support the project, you can. But anyone can join the stream / play the game. They can come in, they can enjoy the content, they can be a part of the community, but they don't have to like financially contribute to it if they don't want to. But they can if they want. And like, hey, you get a sub badge, you're not it's not a pay to win thing, right? Like you're not no one in here that has a sub badge is, I mean, maybe if you turn it on sub only mode or something like that, but that's kind of like the really high level concept in a nutshell. The options that we have, like if you go on the Steam store page, the main, quote unquote DLC that we have is just straight up called donate to Operation Harsh Doorstop. It's just a
Yeah.
straight up donation, and you get a little stuff with it. We also have the expansion DLC, which I would like to clarify on as well, because I know some people look at that and they don't actually read the actual page. But all of that expansion content, the donator stuff, and the perks that come with donator, which is like access to like the developer build, which is like a daily updated build. They're really just behind the scenes, kind of like sneak peeks on things that we're working on. But all of that expansion content, anything that winds up in the dev build, whatever, that's all stuff that's eventually going to be free to the whole community. So the whole model is, donate if you want, if you believe in it and you want to support it, you have the option to do it. And you have a very real and tangible way of giving, of seeing your contribution go back out to the rest of the community. Right. So,
Yeah.
I will say big
that's,
respect to
yeah.
you guys because it doesn't feel like, I've been following this game for feels like a couple of years now, whether it be on Blue Drake's channel or whatnot. It feels like you guys don't shove it down people's throats either.
Right.
It's like you were saying, it's there if you want to.
Exactly.
But I love how you guys have always developed this game, really, really laying into it that it's free.
I'll tell you,
It's awesome.
like I said, it was a big trust fall, but I mean, I've been watching the financial side.
Yeah.
That's obviously, I mean, I'm interested in that.
Yeah.
Since we've gone to early access.
I mean, you
And
have to.
I
This
mean,
is like this is an experiment.
it's
For
been
the most
pretty
part.
good. It's actually been better than we thought it was going to
Oh
be.
wow.
So honestly, it's pretty good. I mean, we're not like rolling in it or anything like
Right.
that, but like from the way our we are very in the context of what a lot of studios budget and spend on game development, we're about as shoestring as it gets. And
That's awesome.
it's still it's still expenses in the six figures annually to do this.
I
But
can imagine.
the Patreon helps. Blue Drake, say what you want about him and his content or whatever, but like one of the big things that I really respect and appreciate is that like, you can go on YouTube and complain about a game, but he's putting his money where his mouth is. He's actually spending a lot of his personal
Yeah.
money, a lot of his most of his YouTube ad rev, all those sponsorships we do, that comes in and goes out immediately to the developers. And he has a son, and he has a house, he's got to like take care of his his own stuff, obviously, but like he really is making this because it's something that he really wanted to see, and because he got fed up with being a content creator and like trying to find some of the changes in the industry that we struggle from the content creation side of things to try to like have those conversations sometimes with developers like, hey, the community really wants this. And they're like, oh, thanks for the feedback. And then, they don't do it. Right. For Blue, I know it's gotten to a certain point where like he literally like cannot do his job as a YouTuber because there's like so many roadblocks to working with other studios that like, you might even be working with someone from a studio who has the best of intentions. Right. But they don't they don't have the say, they don't have the power, right? So if they just say, you know what, hey, oh, interesting idea, but the bottom line and this and that, right? And it's like, okay, we're just gonna do it ourselves, right? That's kind of like what that came down to, and it's like a massive undertaking, but like
Dude,
just being able to
I think
have
that deserves. I think that deserves a huge amount of respect to do anytime you do something like that in life.
That's a huge
undertaking.
undertaking.
Yeah,
Like
it's
for
massive.
Oh,
sure.
it is. Yeah, it's
I think
hard.
I
It's
think I
very
think
hard, but
I think that alone
yeah.
just deserves so much respect for what you guys are doing because it's not something you
That
see
being
people do
said,
often in life.
we think that this is going to get a lot more common, is seeing like influencers creating. I
Yeah.
mean, we're already seeing it. Dr.
Yeah.
Disrespect is making a game. I've been seeing the esports orgs getting into it. Like I think 100 Thieves is making a game as well. I obviously like guys like Big Fry, they're making a game. All that kind of stuff. So and it's kind of like goes back to what I was saying earlier. There are content creators that are literally making our annual budget expenditure and or more, like a guy like Dr. Disrespect, for example, right? I mean, he could bankroll that whole thing personally, and he doesn't ever have to ask for a dime from the community to do it. And we because game development is like anyone could go download Unreal Engine right now and go make a commercial game right now for no cost but your time. It's not easier said than done, of course, but like it is there, it's accessible. It's not like it was decades ago where like you had to know somebody to get a license and you had to oftentimes pay money for that license to release a commercial game. Now you can go to Epic and you can get Unreal Engine and up to your first million in
That's
sales.
insane. I
you
know.
don't have to pay anything.
They make it really approachable.
Right? And then beyond that, it's 5%.
And it's crazy because then you have platforms like Steam that are available for you to put on. Then you have platforms that are like YouTube and Twitch for you to advertise it on. So it's all the tools are there. So it's kind of interesting.
Exactly. And with the way the industry's turning with AAA is its own thing, indie games as well, right? But with the way that it's going and how challenging it is to just like get some recognition in the community, or get the community to kind of get what they want that's like consumer friendly, this and that. We've just kind of ran out of patience for that, right? And I think a lot more people are going to kind of come to that realization, and they're going to start to see more people such as ourselves, such as Dr. Disrespect, whatever, Big Fry, all those guys, right? They're going to see them doing it themselves, and they're going to think, I could do that, right? And you can, you can. The tools are there, right? So,
and we have a few people in chat asking here too, where can we support the game? So I'm one of the supporters of the game, and you can, from what I recall, you can, I tagged it here. You can support it straight through the Discord, as well as I think your website, right?
So our whole thing is, we're just offering solutions wherever people want to do it. So there's now that we're in early access, we can do it on Steam. So there's always the Steam option. We still have our Patreon. We still have a lot of Patreon backers, which is actually interesting to see that, like, we released and they're still there, which is really cool. I'm sure that'll dip, over time, because, it's like less of a necessity to like test stuff or whatever. But yeah, we have that. We have the Discord. I know Blue's been working on trying to get that to work for like his YouTube channel. So like if you support on his YouTube, it kind of can tie into the whole ecosystem or whatever. So really just whatever people want. I would say in the long run, things like the Patreon are probably the best bang for the buck. Because we still want to like do stuff with supporters that are like unique, right? That's kind of like the idea, is like, that's kind of like our giving back in a sense, right? is that, and we don't know exactly what that's going to look like in the run. It's something that we kind of like we'll cross that. They're doing support only events. Maybe there's first looks at a mod or like some other kind of content with supporters or something. I don't know, whatever unique scenarios or modes or
I'll put the link
whatever.
to the Steam page in your chat, Raz.
Yeah, please,
There you
dude.
go.
That's the
Yeah,
Steam
go check
page
it out.
there, and then I'll also have the have that linked in the description here of the YouTube video. I'm gonna post this on YouTube as well. So if you're watching on YouTube, check the link. Make sure if you do believe in the game, feel free to support it. Saint asks, would there be like an early supporter founder pack? Kind of what you were mentioning.
Yeah, so the supporter edition, that is like the donate to OHD option is
Gotcha. Okay.
you get what was called like on the Patreon the supporter edition, which is what gets you like access to the developer build of the game, which is not like something that you would regularly play on. It's it updates daily. So it's like someone checks in something middle of the night, they're working on an animation or some new mechanic or whatever, they check it in. The next time the game updates, you get to test that.
Oh,
Every
that's
day.
awesome.
It's
Okay.
it's daily. It's the
That's kind of like
bleeding
Ready or
edge
Not.
build.
Like Ready or Not does something similar with their supporter pack, but theirs is
Yes.
extremely expensive. But
It
it's
is
like
very expensive.
yeah, it's like what, like 90, 100 bucks?
It's kind of prohibitively expensive in my opinion. I like that game a lot, but
Oh, it's great.
It's a little rich for my blood,
Yeah.
personally. But
they do something similar where it's like the earliest
but they
build.
also they I think they kind of put more like it's not like a regular update though. It's like they kind of make more of a cumulative like this is what's coming up. I'm saying is like this is literally daily. So like it's like one day someone can upload something that's broken and they gotta fix it, and then there's another update the next day it's like that. It's like literally like almost live development.
That's
like,
actually really cool.
It's daily. So it's again, it's not like a playable thing. It's playable, but like if you wanted to like run a server, you would literally be updating your server every single day. So we don't recommend that. But it's like I say, it's like the bleeding edge build, right?
That's kind of cool.
And then the other expansions are like, for example, we have Operation Michael, which is the World War I content, Operation Overlord, which is World War II, and then Rolling Stone, which is the Vietnam stuff. Each of those is going to be about 3 to 4 maps, and we'll probably wind up also redoing some of the current factions for those as well. Still kind of figuring out what we want to do for those complete content things, but those also are kind of like, because we do get some people who they think, oh well, you're just going to split the player base, but it's like, well, no, actually, if you go look at those maps, you wouldn't want to play on them because they're so work in progress that like for example, we have Carentan in there, and it's like it's so early that it's literally like, I mean, here I can just.
It's like you can walk around.
I can just share my screen. Right?
Oh heck yeah! Here you guys go. You're getting a.
Yeah, no. So I can kind of show you. I can kind of show you here. So like Carentan. I'm not even gonna run the bots. I'm just gonna jump right into it. Right. You wouldn't want to play on this, but this is the idea, is that you're getting the work in progress.
I mean, Fresh and I would
behind the scenes look.
We'd love to do some tanking,
and I can show you, like, this is an example of like one of the more like earlier maps. I'm just gonna turn on faster speed, so like you can get an idea of like we can get into that later, but it's just an idea of like what it'll look like or whatever. Conversely, we also have maps, for example. So this is Tan Binh, which is one of the Vietnam for the Rolling Stone maps, and Grease Gun. This one is a little bit more fleshed out, right?
Oh wow!
So, seeing you guys.
So you could play on this map, right?
Yeah.
But that's kind of the idea, is like you're getting these work in progress sneak peek behind the scene builds, and then when all is done and like the community and ourselves feel that it's in like a releasable state,
Mhm.
It just gets released back out into the base game for free. That's the
Yeah.
concept.
That's
right?
amazing.
That's
So you get to
awesome.
you get to look at this, know that like you're helping fund this, and
Mhm.
then the rest of the community is benefiting from it in the long run, right?
Yeah.
That's the concept. That's part of the whole trust fall thing. It's like, you know what? It's probably not the best method in the world, but it was like the least predatory thing that we could think of. you know,
No, I think that
uh,
makes sense. That
you
if you
know,
want to support something, you get a sneak peek, you get to see what you're actually supporting, and feel like you're more involved in it.
oh,
Um,
this is probably one of
this
the
is
more
beautiful.
completed
Oh my
ones. Is just
god.
D-Day. It's 4x4 kilometers.
I mean, this
You
is
know,
what
you
the
got the
masses want.
whole beachhead,
Mhm.
How
right?
many players can you get in a server? Like 100, right?
So you can do whatever you want. You can get more than that if you want.
Jesus.
I think I remember when I tried the single
However,
player demo, I did 120 players. I thought my computer was going to explode from all the smoke
But
grenades.
I
oh,
did
the
The,
bots, they're
the
well. So
bots were crazy.
the
we don't
bots are
believe
different.
in. Oh, they're we can also get into the bots, and I can explain some of the things with the
Yeah.
bots as well. But like,
Because I played 64 and it was fine.
Yeah, yeah.
so what
Yeah.
I'll say is we're optimized right now around 64. We obviously have some rough edges there still that we're getting a lot of good data on because
Yeah.
of release and a lot of people playing on like different hardware and configurations and all that kind of stuff. The biggest stuff is once you start exceeding 64, you start to see some of the network optimization breakdown right now, such as like VoIP, which is like really
Mhm.
heavy networking intensive because you're sending like packets like every time you talk over the internet, it's taking your audio,
Right.
and it's like pushing it out there. And yeah, so that's kind of how that works. This is the mic I'll show as well.
Moy
But
also
yeah.
asks if I purchase donate Operation Harsh Doorstop, um, will it carry over when it goes out of testing into its final release? Like full final
Um,
release. I don't know if there is necessarily like a final
Oh, that
release,
was
right?
cool.
Whoa.
right. Yeah. Obviously, you can see this like still super right.
Yeah.
But like you can get the idea. Will be. I think this is a 2x2 kilometer map, and it's just gonna be straight trenches, no man's land.
Including World War One stuff is so crucial because I feel like that's a huge opportunity there. A lot of you see it with a lot of World War One games that come out and just fade away really quickly. The fact that you can have all this stuff plus World War One, I think is going to be massive. Because
I
a
think
lot of people
the
So
want it, but no one
going
wants a
back to
full
that
World War One
question
game.
though, let me
yeah.
I
Yeah,
want to
sorry,
make sure
sorry.
to answer that. So
No,
will it
you're good.
carry over when it gets out of testing? Yeah, I mean, so the dev build is like the daily update, daily build that is it accumulates into what the next major update slash patch is for the base game for everybody. As I mentioned with like the expansions, those are really just like sneak peek behind the scenes looks at content. And then once those are completed, everybody just gets them for free. So like you don't have to ever spend $1 here. It's just like, again, it's like a Twitch sub, right? Like if I sub to your channel, you might have a Discord with a sub only chat or something like that.
I
Only
gotcha.
you and subs can kind of talk to, right? That's kind of like the idea, right? And then eventually everybody just kind of gets it, right? So yeah.
And then another question that I've actually gotten this a lot on TikTok too, actually. Are you planning on porting it to console?
Um
That'd be a tough one.
So right now
Yeah.
the PC is the focus. PC build is the focus. We're obviously still so early. Like I cannot stress enough like how early the game is right now. I mean, we're still kind of technically like we would almost still kind of technically consider ourselves pre-alpha at this stage. I don't know, maybe you could argue it's alpha. The way that I typically define those, at least traditionally with software versioning, is that alpha is you're still building and implementing features. Beta is a little more like feature complete and you're polishing, bug fixing, quality of life stuff, all that kind of stuff. And then after you leave beta and you go into like, that's like when you go into like your 1.0 build and stuff like that. And you're talking like post full release support, kind of stuff. So we're still extremely early days. But Wow, my mind just blinked. What was the specific question again that you said
No,
you
you're
have
good.
on TikTok?
It was basically if it's going to go to console because I know
Oh,
it's
yeah. So the point I was getting at there is that
yeah.
the PC build is the main focus. Um, we would love to offer it on console, but I feel like that would be so far into the future. It's almost not worth talking about at this point in time because there's a lot of heavy requirements that it takes to
Yeah.
even go to console, and not to mention the modding angle, which is obviously like a huge aspect of this for us. Um, you know, that's hard to do on console because there's usually caps on the amount of like gigabytes of data that you can get
Yeah.
with mods, right?
I
And I
have a
know
I think
question.
it's like 2 gigabytes. It's like
yeah.
I have a quick question.
right?
Now we're going to the mod
Yeah.
topic.
Right.
It's obviously right now it's kind of like you go through Steam Workshop, find your mod, then you could, go to your certain server. Myself, I'm not a mod expert by any means. I haven't really done anything with mods since like Counter Strike, Counter Strike
Hmm.
Source.
Yeah.
Do you think we'll get to a point where it'll be easy enough for these modded servers to join, and then it'll ask you straight in the game, do you want to download this? Because I remember with Counter
Like
Yes.
Strike,
Yeah.
you would
squad.
have
Squad
something
does
would be
that
like,
That's
we're
too.
the
gonna play a map
plan.
you don't have. Do you want to download it? That way you don't.
Mhm.
There's no confusion. It's super
That's the
streamlined.
plan.
It has
Yeah.
these
That's the
mods.
plan
Mhm.
is when you eventually when you join a server, it'll
Mhm.
say, "Do you want to subscribe to these mods
Hell
on
yeah.
the workshop?" And then you'll say yes or no.
Yeah.
You can already make collections
Mhm.
on the workshop and subscribe to the entire collection. So like I could go on there right now and say Gooms' modded server mod collection, and then you can just hit subscribe to all, and you have everything that
Download
goes
it.
into
That's
my
awesome.
server.
Yeah, because I think
Yeah.
that something like that's gonna be so helpful in growing this game.
100%.
Because
Yeah,
I think
and yeah, we know that that's going to be a growing pain. And right
yeah.
now, but what I talk a lot with the server owners about like because I used to run servers back in the day for like Daisy Mod and
Yeah.
early Arma servers and stuff, and it was not uncommon that you would use your server title as like the screen real estate to like say, hey,
You
these
need
are the
these
mods you
mods.
need to join, right?
Mhm.
So I've been seeing some pretty creative stuff like tiny URL links to like pastebin documents or whatever, where you just kind of like, these are the mods I need, and it's a little bit more manual. You got to tab out
Yeah,
whatever,
yeah.
Yeah, because I found
but
like Ready or Not had some of the most pain in the ass ways to because it's all manual initially to do the
Mhm.
mods where you literally have to like go in the files, move them
well,
over,
they don't
replace those
have
files.
official mod support. That's
Right.
the key difference,
Yeah,
right? Like
that's
the
true.
people who are modding that game are literally ripping open the pack files,
Yeah.
right? It's not
Yeah.
true mod support. Like you can mod it, but you're actually quite limited, and it makes the user have to actually kind of jump through a few hoops. I have not tried out their mod.io integration. Um, I'm not a
It's
fan of
okay.
mod.io.
Yeah, it's not great.
We've
It's not
spoken to
seamless.
mod.io, and I mean, it's possible to put mods on mod.io as I understand it, but the thing that I don't get is that like there is no exclusivity there. We specifically asked them that. And there isn't. So there's really no reason to not also offer workshop in my opinion. I mean, it's not as easy as just checking the box and saying we want workshop. Like you actually have to like program the game in a way where when you hit subscribe it understands how to like mount the mod to the game and all that kind of stuff. So it's not as like easy as just checking a box and saying turn on workshop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's more manual work there, but again there's really no exclusivity. So like I don't know, because I dealt with mod.io with like Sandstorm, and I've ran servers for Sandstorm. I hate running servers for that game. That's always been like a major thorn in my side anytime I've done it, and the mod.io stuff never made it easy.
I know I'm following the
Either,
World War
so
II mod for that game, and I'm in their Discord. I just see the guys doing it, complaining about it nonstop. And I'm like,
Yeah.
this is
it's a
so
pain,
difficult
and
for no
it sucks
reason.
from a server admin perspective, server owner perspective as well. It's just really not an elegant process. It works if you do it right, but it's just a pain. It's such a pain.
So
So
Fresh and I were talking. We've seen some really cool looking mods. I've also watched Blue's videos on some of the really cool mods.
Seeing those
So
tanks and Apaches, dude, I can't wait.
yeah,
oh
so
yeah.
that kind of goes along with this question. So my our question is, when you're looking at all these mods, right? How do you as developers determine what actually should become true like vanilla content, I guess you could say,
Hmm.
versus what you're just gonna not develop and let be mods. Because Terry, one of our good friends of our channel, made a video, and in his video he kind of mentioned like one of the responses sounded more like, you know, it was like, we're not developing that. Like that's for the community to develop. So how do you kind of
Right.
determine that? Like what you will invest in time and vanilla versus what you won't?
Yeah. So kind of going, I think we might have touched on this like more towards the very beginning, but
Yeah.
just to clarify again, the intent is not and will never be, oh, the modders will just take care of that. That like
Right.
that's not really the
Hmm.
point. Our main focus though at this time is building the framework, and
Mhm.
Hmm.
then the content comes after that, right? So, we're not asking you to go make helicopters, but if
Right.
you want an Apache, and we just haven't made a model of an Apache and rigged it and animated it, you still have the whole network replicated vehicle system that you can bring in and tie that content piece to. And that's what we mean when we're like focusing on modders. So it's not like, oh, they're just going to make the helicopters, we don't have to worry about it. No, it's we're going to give you the bare bones tools to, if you want to cover a certain era, like, because we
You
don't
can't
have
do everything.
resources to make every single,
No,
right,
definitely
exactly.
not.
So the main thing for us is like, we need to make the platform, the framework, all that kind of stuff, and then we'll make the content as it pertains to what we want to make in the base game that we want to see, right? But the idea is that you can take it and be like, you know what, they didn't cover, they didn't do this era war, and I'd really love to see. And a lot of times it's like, some obscure war. It's just like, I don't know,
Well,
man.
I've seen a
Like there's
lot
so many
about the
other bigger
Korean.
ticket
A lot of
items.
people want the
Yeah.
Korean
Yeah,
War.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So if you wanted to do that, you could make a Korean War faction right now,
Mhm.
and you can, you get the character model, you hook it up into our player controller. You can get all the guns hooked up, rigged up. You can reuse a lot of our guns there too that we've already made, things like that. Again, it's kind of like Arma too. I mean, there's nobody out there saying, I mean, I guess I do this every now and then, that, yeah, modders are just going to make that game or whatever. I feel like it's not really, it's kind of weird to me, because it's almost like people say the same thing but with the completely opposite attitude, right? Where they're like, oh, but don't worry, it's okay if like that stuff's not that great, the modders will just come in and make it good, and they get that pass. But like over here it's like, well, they just want the modders to make the game. It's
Yeah,
like,
it's
no,
it's
dude,
funny how
no,
it
it's
can go
like,
both ways. Like,
it's so
Yeah.
weird, right?
you know,
Yeah.
us being
Yeah.
two hell loose players, it's kind of fun. We see that a lot. Like, open up to modders like Postscriptum did. They fixed everything. And it's like,
Right.
well, what the fuck? That's the opposite of what's going on with Operation
Right.
Arch
Yeah, and I
Doorstop.
don't think you should ever be in a situation where, quote, modders are fixing your game. Like,
Yeah.
that's not, they should be enhancing the experience, because they're dedicated, they're committed, they have a community of their own that they really want to see like specific things, and like we don't want to prevent them from doing that, right? But it doesn't mean that we're relying on that. Now, that was kind of a long tangent, going back to the top of your
Yeah.
question, where you're asking about how do we like figure out what goes into the vanilla content and with mods and stuff. So we don't just like take what modders make and make it part of, like, we can't do that.
Mhm.
But the modding community is like the number one place that we look for hires, right?
Mhm.
And that's like the best way to get into our view, is to just grab the SDK and make something that, like you looked at some of the vehicle stuff. A
Right.
lot of that was made by a friend of ours who we onboarded because he knows how to do that stuff. And when we're getting around, I mean, he's already behind the scenes working with us on a lot of the stuff that he worked on. A lot of that stuff basically we treated as a prototype, and we wind up actually recreating all of it from scratch, because the programmer he needs to fit it into the code base in the way that makes the most sense. We can't just like tape something on and then
Right.
kind of call it a day.
I think that's what
So
happened
a
with
lot of the
Postscriptum. A
times,
lot of
right,
opportunities there, yeah. Where it
right.
was just
So a lot
like
of the
build on top of it.
times,
Yeah.
yeah, you'll see a guy make a tank and we'll be like, that's dope. That's
Yeah.
exactly how we want the tanks. We
Exactly.
won't actually take that though and implement that. We literally destroy it, rip it apart, and rebuild it from the ground up based on what the prototype has
Gotcha.
essentially. And then we work directly with the guy who did it. And then that's how you do it, right? That's how you work with the modding community. That's how you make them part of the team. All that. You know, we are like much more focused on working with people like that than just like, you know, random mercenary developer number, you know, 5006 that has a portfolio that applies, right? Like we would much rather work with the guy who's sitting in the Discord
Passionate
on the
about
SDK, working with other people, helping them learn it. Like that's our guy. That's our guy, right? Like that's, you know, so.
Is there anything that you know, obviously you have you're close to the ground. Is there any mod or feature, you know, you guys are working on specifically that you're really, really excited about, whether it be by the community or yourselves? Is there anything that you're paying a close attention to, like, wow, that's gonna be fucking cool?
The vehicle stuff definitely is definitely a big one. I'm working on my own mod with a couple of the guys on the team. Unfortunately, I haven't had a chance yet to actually port this up to the current version of the game. I haven't had an opportunity to update my stuff, but I'll give you a little bit of a video here if you like want to pull that up.
Absolutely.
It's a Rangers themed mod, and some of the guys have been helping me create a night vision effect for it.
Oh hell yeah!
So yeah, and I have a bunch of assets I purchased on CG Trader. Basically, it's a lot of stuff that goes into Arma. Actually, so you actually probably recognize a lot of that stuff if you're like deep into the Arma modding scene. It's a guy, really talented guy on CG Trader, Parallax Studios. Guy's name is Cody. Super talented guy. And yeah, I bought some stuff on there on Turbo Squid, and some of the guys have been helping me put it together because I'm not a technical. I'm not really good at that stuff. I know enough to kind of like piece some stuff together, but they help me a lot on some of the troubleshooting. But like,
wow,
yeah, it's
that looks cool.
So the one of the guys helped make like network replicated flashlights. There's also a little laser there. I got a couple of the guys that I've been kind of meaning to pick their brain about doing IR lasers, stuff like that. You know. I really want to kind of like lean heavily into the night vision side of things, because I don't know, I'm a big. It's like the stuff I do in.
Dude,
I really like that stuff.
Like off focus gun really ties it together, dude.
Yeah.
So one of the things I'm really hoping to do, because that's just straight up a variable called focal distance, and I actually want to assign hotkeys to that so you can adjust it just like you would a real pair of night vision.
That is cool.
One of the guys I mentioned, I have a business partner who works in the firearm industry. He owns several pairs of like night vision like this, and I talked to him a lot about it. He helped design the effect essentially and kind of consult on that. And he was saying that that's basically what you do is everyone kind of sets it to the max focal, which is what makes your foreground so blurred out, but it is adjustable. So I would like to do that. Also figure out like some of the auto gating stuff, so when you're walking into like the lit up areas and stuff like that, you know, it'll like, you know, you can adjust all that kind of stuff. I would love to do that with the IR lasers too, like adjusting certain things like beam strength and, you know, just things that you would be able to kind of like alter on the real devices essentially, right? So
cool.
You know, so stuff like that,
man.
Is dope. You know, I'm excited to kind of do. I would love to kind of come out with like a night-based kind of thing that people can do, like maybe play co-op against bots where everyone's got night vision. I took the Rasala map, as you can see here, and I tweaked it, so it's actually. I actually have a couple screenshots. The time of day actually animates.
You have to let share screen, Raz.
Oh yeah.
Or if I don't know, I'll post it, however you want to do it.
That's awesome though, man. I
you know,
really
so
like that.
the time will start where it's a little too bright for the nods, and then it'll get progressively darker and darker and darker, and then you flip the night nods on, and you know, so I don't know. I'm working on some stuff like that. The vehicle stuff is obviously really cool. That's going to be a much larger thing. The nade throw is actually exactly the same. I see mentioning that about it. It's actually exactly the same. I think the difference that you're noticing is that in the current game, if you're playing on a really packed full server, some of the networking latency and stuff actually kind of
Yeah,
Turns into two
messes with that
grenades.
a little bit.
you get
But
those limp arms.
yeah, I mean, the way our grenades work is actually exactly how it works in all other games. I think they just do a better job of hiding because really the way you have to think about it is the grenade that you see in the first person model is not the grenade that gets thrown.
Yeah.
It's a projectile that gets spawned in front of you, and games that make it not look jank like ours, they do a better job of hiding, right? And so it's all part of the polish
Hey,
process.
it's still early days.
Yeah, like
exactly. That's all stuff that'll get solved over time. That's like small stuff.
I will
I
say,
just-
piggybacking off of this, and how like you're making your own mod and for everything, just a statement of how powerful this platform of a game can be. I know nothing about modding. The guys I game with, Raz included, we don't know too much about modding. All of a sudden, in our group chat, we're talking about making maps. We're looking
Dude,
into it.
that's
It's
awesome.
crazy.
Dude,
So
that's been one of the coolest things I've
yeah.
seen.
So if
is
we're
people
if we're
coming
doing
in
that,
wanting to
yeah.
learn.
Yeah. So all of a sudden, I can only imagine throughout the community, all of a sudden you have people getting interested in this kind of stuff. And
Hear me out.
What I
awesome
recommend for all the people who want to learn is to make a tiny little map. Like it could literally be white boxes, 4 walls, and getting the flags in and spawning in, drop the AI nav mesh down, and get it in game. And when you learn how to do that, you're off to the races.
Yeah.
Right? Like you will be like, oh, that's how you do that. That's easy, right?
Yeah.
I can just immediately I'll actually find you another guy here, Coiled. He's a brand new, or he's been in the community for a long time, but he just like picked up the SDK and he made this in like a week.
Oh god.
Right.
Click your ass.
yeah, check it out.
It's just assets we already have in the game. He generated the landscape on his own. He learned how to do it. And he just pieced it together because in Unreal Engine, it's quite easy. You just kind of drag the props around, and then using our system and our framework, it's already networked for multiplayer. All the guns function, all that kind of stuff. So, that's it, right? Like the way the AI works, kind of going a little bit into the AI, they're still extremely basic in terms of what they know how to do. But the big thing for us was just getting them in first, because we are using GOAP, GOAP, goal-oriented action planning or processing. I think that's the acronym. Famously, or made famous through Fear. Fear used the GOAP system.
Oh man, Fear. Jeez.
But that doesn't mean that this is like exactly like Fear, because like if you took their AI and dropped it in here, it would probably break immediately, right?
Yeah.
So it's more of a framework for the AI essentially, but it is not native to Unreal Engine. But part of that whole process is that we need to like teach them behaviors, and then as they kind of move through a level and certain circumstances and scenarios take place around them, they think, oh, this is happening, I should now start doing this behavior, right? And then they like figure out their goals and their planning from there. And the big thing with our AI, while they are extremely basic right now in the sense that all they really know how to do is like capture flags and shoot at enemies when they see them, you can take the nav mesh and literally just drop a volume on the map. It'll generate the navigation points within it, and then you just package the map and you release it, and the AI will work on that map instantly.
That's
and
crazy.
as we teach them behaviors, they'll just get better and better and better. Whereas if you look at, like, I know there was some recent AI stuff. I mean, you guys are friends with Sherman, so you've probably seen his video where he's done that AI stuff. As I understand it, that's really hard to implement. Like that guy Squitters is doing really crazy work to get that in, which it's like that's really hard to do. And I think it's hard to kind of get working on a lot of maps here. That is just not the case. You just drop the nav mesh in, and you let the SDK kind of like process and do its thing. It'll lock your computer up if you do a really big area, because it's so much data that it's like processing. But it's possible and it works. If you were to look at this map in a debug mode, the whole floor would be like a neon green,
Mhm.
essentially, where the AI it's possible for them to go, and that includes building interiors, stuff like that.
Oh
So
wow.
it's just one of those things where like, yeah, they're super, super basic. All they know how to do right here is shoot at guys. They'll throw smokes and they'll throw grenades when rounds are incoming based on the distance between them and to the enemy. So they won't throw a frag grenade if they're 200 meters away. They'll throw a smoke instead, right?
Oh, that's
But
cool.
it's like basic stuff like that right now. But like what? So we actually have an entire refactor to the AI that's currently shelved and waiting review. It's something we didn't have time to get to before the early access launch, but one of the next updates that's going to be coming in, the AI are going to start to understand how to break line of sight, which is going to kind of be
Oh
the
my
basis
God.
for taking cover behind and
For
concealment,
Skynet, right?
essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like they're going to start getting shot at, and when a bullet comes out, it's a projectile, right? So there is a line that's being traced and drawn across the map, essentially, and they'll kind of start to understand that like line trace, and they'll be able to know, oh, if I go behind this building, I'm now breaking that line trace, right? And so now I can take cover, and that's actually going to be the foundation for teaching them how to do bounding Overwatch, which is like set piece, move piece. So I'm set and I'm suppressing and you're moving, and then the moving element becomes a set piece. They start suppressing, and then the enemy the AI that were now the set piece, they become the move piece. It's like leapfrogging. It's like it's like standard infantry tactics, really.
Mhm.
Bounding, peeling. Peeling is the exact same thing, just in reverse. Breaking attack, essentially.
That's
right.
incredible.
So that's the stuff. I talk to the AI guy all day about this stuff. He and I are like total nerds about this stuff. He knows way more than I do, but
Yeah.
we do have a dedicated AI guy, and he has that whole refactor. I'm really looking forward to kind of getting in. He's been working on that pretty hard. So the AI are still super early days, but it'll get there over time.
Yeah.
This makes me just want to make like a map for just tanking, so we
I
can just
know, I
mess
know.
around.
I mean,
You know what
that's
I'm
that's
saying?
what I was talking about. It's like
Yeah.
it's all of a sudden
God,
we're all, you give the people tools and
I'm a
it's
bit of a
inspiring.
Yeah, so,
developer
so that's the
myself.
idea, right? Is like, this guy is not fucking fixing the game or making the
Yeah.
game for us. He's just making something that's cool, and he wants
Yeah.
to share with people, and people can go grab that. And you're like, oh, I'm kind of getting bored of the maps. Go grab one the community made, right? And play
Yeah.
it, right? That's what it's there for, right? We don't want you to make it for us. We just want you to be able to do it with no restrictions, because, again, it's like going back into games that like don't have modding support. Like do you think that is that easy in a game? For example, like you bring up Ready or Not, right? And the mods
Yeah.
there, like you think it's that easy to make a map? It's really not, right? It's actually really not. There's a lot more involved process that kind of goes into that. You don't just have an SDK where you can literally hit package and upload to Steam Workshop when you're done, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's
That's cool, man.
incredible. How
You guys are
so?
it brings me back to like the golden age of like
Yeah.
my gaming days, I'm not
dude, that's how
that young,
all
I'm
of
not
us
that
are
old.
older guys. We grew up with
Yeah.
the same thing, bro. I
Yeah, it
always
reminds
tell
me
people
playing like Day of Defeat Source, and that's like playing on these crazy
Exactly.
maps and all that kind of
Except
stuff. I had
we
like
grew up with one
flashbacks.
CS 1.6 and the
Mhm,
original
mhm.
Half-Life
Yep.
and all that kind of stuff, right? And
Yeah.
I remember, as a kid,
Scouts
I
and
would
knives,
play
baby.
CS 1.6. Yeah, and like one map you're fighting terrorists on Dust.
Yeah.
And then next map, I'm swinging from a grappling hook off a
Yeah,
giant
dude.
refrigerator on DE Rats, landing in a sink, planting a bomb. And then the
Yeah.
next map, I'm surfing on the side of a triangle, trying to shoot people with a scout. Right?
Yeah. I think that's
Right?
that's
And
awesome.
that was so cool. It blew my
Yeah.
little mind back then. Right?
Yeah, no one's really been able to bring us back to that yet. So I think this is the closest we've come, and I think we're just gonna get closer and closer with this.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible. Like, I definitely playing it. I was like, man, yeah, definitely rough around the edges, but like, I can see how the future of this just has so many possibilities. What one thing I do want to go ahead and ask though is like, how are you going to go ahead and keep players from coming back? I mean, I know you're gonna have mods, but like,
Mhm.
how do you want them to aside from new mods or like some big mods, obviously like the vehicle mods huge, right? But
Mhm.
like, are we really reliant on like the mods keeping it alive, or like what do you foresee as the complete future of this game to really have
Mhm.
players to come back? Obviously with today we have like the season pass, and like people are like, "Where's the
Right.
season pass?" Obviously, this doesn't. Like, what's your
We've had a
vision of
couple
it?
of people unironically be like, "Hey, where's the battle pass?"
Uh,
It's been my new joke, and I'm like,
dude,
"Hey,
so
yo,
many. I've gotten
PayPal me
some too.
$100. I got a pass to the battle, my friend. I'll get you right in." Right?
It's it's
That's been my new
insane.
joke.
It's
Yeah.
crazy.
But
Like I can't grind for gear. Why would you want to do that? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, well, that being said, though, what we would what would be really cool to see is people doing, and we're actually already seeing a little bit of this. I'll actually send you another here,
Yeah.
um, actually from the same guy, Coiled. So this is also one of our really talented modders. His name's Kays, and
Ooh,
he's been making King of the Hill.
hell yeah.
From
that is
Arma,
cool.
right? And he's actually repurposed our kit restriction system to make it so when you get kills, you earn XP, and then as you earn the XP, you unlock kits.
Oh, we're going gun game on this?
In a sense, in a way, yeah. Except you die, you don't like you drop back a gun or whatever, right? But he was able to non-natively put in a third faction. You can see there's 3 factions at the top there, right? So he's been doing some really crazy stuff that I didn't even know was possible, right?
It's wild. We're not even a week out from early access release.
Yeah, I
and
know.
Stuff's already like.
Well, keep
there's
in
already
mind
so
as
much
well
going
though
on.
that we've had the SDK out
Yeah.
for like over a year.
Yeah, I just know in the
So-
grand
and
scheme
we've
of
gone
things,
through.
there's
Yeah.
so much,
No. But that's what's so cool
works.
though, and why we wanted to get that stuff out really early, because you can see now, pretty much in the very first week, we have 50 mods on the workshop, and some of them are really impressive. Another one that I'll show you right here. And I'm gonna answer your question too.
No, you're good. You're good.
It did crack me up because I was keeping tabs on the workshop as soon as you guys went live on the Steam release, and I think it was within 20 minutes there's already a mod posted in there. It's awesome.
Yeah, well, there's been a lot of guys already making stuff. Why can't I never
just
find
ready to
this
go.
guy's channel? Yeah, they've been waiting for it so that they could upload their stuff. But going back to, as I look for this, I'll answer your question. Going back to like, how do we keep people coming back? I mean, again, I guess it kind of goes back to the trust fall thing in a way, because, I mean, it's like, this is how we grew up, with playing games, and we came back because the content was enticing, the modding scene kept it really fresh.
Yeah.
And I'll share this with you too. I mean, we were just talking about old school Counter-Strike, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry,
I'm
gonna
waiting.
tie all this together.
Dude, there's gonna be so many people just remaking. There's only a matter of time till there's a Counter-Strike server.
I'm just gonna show you right here.
Yeah.
Counter-Strike 1.6 right now has 15,000 people playing.
Mm-hmm.
Right
Yeah.
now.
Jesus.
I believe
That's
it.
more. That's more than almost all the games in this genre are combined. Right.
Yeah.
They're
that's
still
incredible.
playing it. Right. And you get all sorts of mixtures of stuff of just like, I'm gonna share this too. And again, I'm still tying it all together here.
No, you're good.
This guy, Vehicle Law, he made this casual mode where he basically turned the game into.
Oh, I saw that one at workshop.
Into COD.
That one sounded interesting. I was looking at that. I'm like, this could actually be pretty fun.
Yeah, it's actually been one of the more popular ones, I think, and I think one of the modded servers that has actually been having some good.
Did he put a little hit marker on it too?
Yeah,
Get the hell out of here!
And he is
so
new.
funny.
He's new to the SDK now. He has an aptitude, I think, for this stuff. I think he has some other kind of technical background to like be able to pick it up as fast as he did with some of the more technical
sliding
things.
is so funny.
He's changed, but like he like made this, in no time, and he figured it out on his own,
Oh my
and so
God, look
it's
how
really
crazy.
cool. Like, yeah. So anyways, to kind of go back to it, I mean, like I said, we're going to be dropping our own content. We're going to be obviously, working on the framework and stuff like that. But like, I don't know. I think it's like a multi approach answer, because I don't think it's going to be any one thing like, oh yeah, players are for sure going to be playing because we're going to do this. Like, I don't know. Like, I think there's so much unknown in the future that like it's hard to really say what that thing's gonna be that's gonna like keep people coming back, but that was also another reason why like the game just being completely free is also another big one, is just like, there's zero barrier to entry. As a modder, you can make a mod. You don't got to convince people to buy the game to play your mod, right? You just make the mod and it's totally free. Like we have the donation options and stuff like that, right? But like nothing is stopping anybody from getting the base game and getting into all these mods without spending a single dollar, right? And that's kind of what it's all about,
I mean, if you build it, they'll come.
Do you guys have like a roadmap in reference to your development schedule and like kind of major things you're trying to have?
We have a tiny little dank dark corner at the bottom of the Discord with a roadmap that we update every now and then. But the thing of it is like things just honestly move so fast and change so rapidly that we try not to get too fixated on, because the problem we ran into is like we tried to do the whole thing where like, a lot of times you'll see a game studio, they'll release like a really nicely graphically designed PDF or image or something like that. Like, yeah, here's our year one plan and blah, 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 blah. And a lot of times those never wind up going according to plan anyways. And we tried to kind of do that. And we were just like, dude, we're remaking this image like every month. Right. And we kind of hit a point where we're like, these are our really high level goals, getting in the vehicles. We have weapon and gear customization plan, grid-based inventory. We have a whole medical overhaul that we're going to be working on. We're going to be overhauling all the game mode logic pieces, all that kind of, like, we have so many really high level things. And the exact order of which that comes in we're still just kind of like playing it really loose. And we have the benefit of being completely autonomous, which means that we can pivot and we can shift really rapidly, which is important. Like if we had, a big publisher or a big investor, it would not be so easy to do that, right?
Yeah.
So, we have like a general sense of like the things that we really want to be or do, and in like what order. But the other aspect of it as well is like sometimes a developer comes around that he's maybe working on another project, but he's got like 3 months where he's not doing anything, and he can come in and help us realize something we planned on doing earlier than we intended to. We've had plenty of stuff like that happen in the past as well, where we're just like, man, we didn't expect to do this for another 1+ years, but this guy's here. He's here right now. Let's get it going. Right. It's one of those things where it's like you gotta like, I think, kind of really just watch, and like you'll kind of get a sense for like when and how things will be coming. But it's really hard for us to just like release one like rigid timeline. It's really hard for us to do. So
yeah, that'd be unfair to yourselves too. I think.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean that's the other thing as well.
Into a corner.
How many times do we hear this is the roadmap and here's when we're going to do stuff by, and it gets delayed and people get, so we're just like, you know what, look, it's ready when it's ready, and we're working on it when we can work on it. And, there's going to be an element of that where you're just going to have to take our word on it. You can believe us or not. Right. But that's part of an element of it where it's like, we would rather go down that road than the road of, yeah, it's coming March 1st. Oh, guys, it's delayed. Sorry. April 1st. Oh, yeah, sorry, guys. May 1st. Like we're so sick of that. So you know what? It's ready when it's ready, bro. Like that's like really
exactly.
I like it.
So we have a couple audience questions that we haven't gotten to. So let's go ahead and kind of go through. So when we were talking about a console, obviously console is not something we're looking at right now, but with the game currently, are we looking at potential controller support?
So we don't have like official support at this time. That being said, as is in our fashion, there's already been quite a few community members who've created Steam templates for controllers, which I know is not official support and is not like the best option. But that's what we have for now. I'm sure we'll do it eventually. But
if you need a free program, whoever that is, just download JoyToKey. You can play it with anything.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Play with the Donkey Kong bongos if you need to.
Yeah, he drove
Nice. Okay, good to know.
he's gunning in a tank with that
Yeah. So
I
there
try
are
to play
people
weird
playing
shit.
on console. I'm sorry,
Yes.
not console.
on
There are
controller.
people
Yeah,
playing with a controller now. But they are going through a bit of a manual process to get it.
that
So
makes sense.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of creators, and obviously this being developed by creators, right? People are going to want to make a lot of content off of it. Is there a cinematic mode or a cinematic mod you've heard of, or is there some sort of like admin
yeah.
cam in general for folks to kind of make content off of it?
I mean, we saw
So
you jump
there
into a cam. Is there? I guess
yeah,
that's
Right.
that
the
that's a debug camera. It's not the best. I actually think that Blue commissioned somebody like 6 months ago to make a spectator style camera so he
yeah.
could do exactly that for
Yeah.
his own content.
Yeah, yeah,
But
because we want to make videos
there's
on it.
also I believe it's called Unreal Sequencer, which I think is kind of like Source Filmmaker, and I think it's kind of like Unreal's version of that. I could be wrong on in terms of the name and comparing it to Source Filmmaker, but we have had people in the past who have used that, and they kind of like use it alongside the SDK, and they're able to kind of like make stuff. That's more of an involved process, and you have to have knowledge of how to use it, but that's gonna probably give you a lot more options to do things. But yeah, I mean, we'll have like better free cameras and stuff like that in the future. We just the solutions we have right now are just they're not ideal. They're jank. You can do it, but you're gonna have to work and fight around a little bit of jankiness to get that to work at this time.
Gotcha. So with Hell Loose, running on Unreal 4, right? There's a huge issue with like the LODs. I know you guys use something
Mhm.
similar in reference to LODs.
Yes.
But is there like a max distance that like infantry or objects like just completely disappear? And how are you kind of managing those?
So some of the technical parts of this is a little beyond me
Yeah, yeah,
personally.
yeah.
But um, we do have LODs. They are right now, as I understand it, mostly configured for only some of these settings and options. Some of the lower settings they're not quite fully fleshed out on yet. Um, part of so one thing to also understand about the base game, and this ties into the LODs, is that when we're making the base game, we have a pretty strict budget in terms of like overhead for like poly and tri count for models, things like LODs, all that kind of stuff, the way that the terrains are generated, all of that. So yeah, that's UE4. Actually, what's really funny that you actually mentioned Hello Loose, because we know some of the guys there, and I know the level designers have actually spoken to some of those guys and asked
Oh,
them about how
nice.
they do their levels and stuff. So part of that is just kind of working at a necessity, the way that the engine works. We'll see how that goes in the future, though, because we are eventually planning a migration to UE5. But we
Ooh.
do not believe that right now is a good
Yeah,
time to do
yeah.
that,
That makes
because we
sense.
feel like UE5 is still needs more time in the oven. It still needs more updates. Features like Lumen and Nanite are really cool
Yeah.
features, but they are not performant right now. They're not really viable
We
as we
saw that with
feel they
Resolve.
are.
Yeah.
I haven't really looked too much at that game, but like, yeah, we think that working in UE5 right now is kind of not really the smartest move, because I think in the long run, it's going to be it's going to be the play to work in UE5, of course, but like it just needs more time. So, assuming that Nanite gets to where it needs to go, I think that will change a lot of that with like the LOD discussion and stuff. But I think that's just a matter of time. Until then, we're trying to like work within our budgets, where so that we can, because we could lift the cap on those budgets, and like all the guys with the low end computers are like totally shit out of luck, right? And
Yeah.
we don't want to do that. So modders, on the other hand, they can do whatever they want, right? So if they want to run further out LODs, things like that. Like with my mod, I'm not taking performance into consideration as much. My mod is a little heavy to run at this time, and we haven't really like optimized it that much yet. But like, that's a concept of just like I wanted to really kind of push the boundaries on that one, to kind of show people that it doesn't have to look this way. If certain graphics currently like look old or like not that great, well, it's because we have to account for some of the lower end users. We just have to, right? But those limits are not exclusive to everybody, right? Like anyone could bypass those with the SDK if they really want to. In fact, you could literally copy all the content in the game and make a further outlawed version of them that runs on higher end computers and offer up the exact same vanilla experience, but with all of that extended if you really want to. Not ideal, but
Yeah.
it's possible.
I mean, everyone's not running 4090s. Come on.
Yeah, right. That'll be the day. And that if you look at, I mean, just looking at the Steam hardware surveys, that's that's something that we do. And if you look at those, you kind of start to understand that like there's still a significant amount of people
Yeah,
who
man.
on average are still
older.
running like the 1600 series cards, or they may only have 16 gigs of RAM, or they're on an older 4-core CPU. They don't have 100 core Ryzen, whatever, right? Like so yeah, that's still something that is like unfortunately the reality of hardware. And I'll also note on top of this, and this is a note that I think ties into some of the reception as well, because I know some people will like, oh, but look at it compared to this game, and look at it compared to this game, and you can just play this game. And then it's kind of funny because when you add all of those up, that's like $300 worth of games.
Yeah.
And
my
there are
thoughts exactly.
people here who are not in like America or a Western country, whatever, that it's really hard to get good PC hardware, let alone afford it, right? And on top of that, pay full price for a game. It's almost an impossibility for some people. So we don't want to like completely cut. Like at a certain point, I just can't help you if you have integrated graphics, right? At a certain point, I'm sorry, you're just way outside of the sphere of like hardware.
At
right?
that point,
I
you're just
agree.
not even wanting to.
But there is still a lot we can do for the people. Just again, looking at the reality of like, not everyone is a content creator, not everyone is like a elite gamer. Like some people are just like, bro, this is a hand-me-down computer that I got 10 years ago, and like it still runs all of these UE4 games. I gotta run them on low though, right? Like we still have to account for those people. To an extent. So
all right, so I know we're running short on time. I think we got a couple questions left here.
Sure.
So we got first one. But if the goal is to empower the community with mod tools, why aren't there more tutorials to explain how to use them? So I guess I guess I'll piggyback on top of that, and it's ask if you guys have anything in the works, just to.
I have a couple answers to that. Yeah.
Go for it. Yeah, just kind of make it easier.
First and foremost, we do really want to do documentation, but we just don't have time, and we don't have the manpower to simultaneously develop the game and also make and keep up to date official documentation. So it's something we plan on doing, but it's like we just don't really have the resources. There's already been a few modders in the scene that have been making their own tutorial videos that are like really good. They might as well be documentation. So the community has really been stepping forward and helping out a lot with that. I recommend anyone who's kind of looking for information like that to join the Discord and go down and look at the modding section, because there's actually a lot of good stuff pinned in there. The other aspect of this as well is part of our whole philosophy is that we kind of want to ride on Epic's coattails, in the sense that they're already pouring millions of dollars into developing the engine and doing all the R&D and stuff like that. And so we intentionally keep a lot of stuff still native to Unreal Engine itself, so that you can literally go and watch an Unreal Engine 4 tutorial and it's actually completely relevant. And actually, I think the SDK is a really good learning tool with a lot of these things. Now, there's going to be certain things you just simply cannot do in the SDK, because like, you can't write C++ code, for instance. That stuff's not going to be relevant. But if you're just like, I want to learn how to make a map, there's thousands of hours of mapping tutorials on YouTube that are completely relevant to how you would do it here. and it's really no different. But yeah, that's actually a bit of a tangent, but it's related. We intentionally we try not to use any kind of third-party plugins. We
Yeah.
try to keep everything as native to Unreal Engine as possible, because it seems that Epic's goal is to eventually kind of incorporate all of that stuff anyways. So for example, a lot of games you'll notice will use like WYs or Fmod for their audio, or they'll use like Vivox for VoIP, or
Right.
whatever, things
Take
like
the
that.
load off. Yeah.
Yeah, and you can do all that stuff in Unreal Engine. Those things are more like I'm sure someone who understands these systems is probably going to disagree with me on this, or think I'm butchering the explanation, but those are kind of like shortcuts in a sense to kind of get forward and get into the audio, so you don't have to build some of the more complicated systems yourself. But while that's a more slow and tedious process, we intentionally do that so that we can actually upgrade alongside the improvements that Epic is making. For example, they're bringing in meta sounds, right? Which is like, we would much rather work with a native solution to Unreal Engine than a third-party plugin that might not be here in 2 or 3 years, and then we're completely stuck on an engine version until we rewrite the whole plugin anyways, because we got to have our own. So we're trying to stay as fluid as possible so that we can pivot everywhere we need to. It results in things not moving as fast in the early days, and maybe there's like less sexy things that can kind of come out. But in the long run, which is our main concern, is the long run. That's going to be, we think, our healthiest and safest bet.
That's good. I agree. All right, last question. Are they concerned that if they get their framework working and give full access, others may asset flipping using the framework? That is above my head.
So, I mean, if you're asking about if someone's going to take the game and do an asset flip and release a paid game, you cannot do that.
Nice.
We are thinking about, like, the SDK is not to make standalone games. The SDK is to make mods for the base game, right? You cannot take it and go and make a commercial game. If you found a way to do that, that's why we have lawyers. We can take care of that if we need to. Yeah, shout out to Morrison Rothman. If anyone knows the legal world in the video game industry, those guys are some of the best. And Blue has known those guys for a really long time. Ryan Morrison, all those guys, super talented lawyers. But yeah, one thing we do plan on eventually doing, though, is actually it's not something we're just gonna like let loose and let everyone and like license it and make a commercial game. But we are interested in potentially in the future working with other studios that might want to take the framework and license it to use for their own game. But that's not going to be something we just kind of give everybody. Like we're going to want to see that, like, you have a company, all your contractors are like legit and above board. You have a vision, you have a plan. Our whole thing here is like, we want to try to like force innovation, right? Like we've already played another World War II game every year that comes out for $20 or $30. I've shot the M1 Garand 100 times. Yep. I played Medal of Honor Frontline when I was a kid. I've shot an M1 Garand then. I've shot them now. They're all the same. I mean, not obviously they're not identical, right? But where's the original story, right? Like where is all this, like, where's the actual innovation coming in?
Yeah.
Where are the people taking risks, right? Like, so I don't know, working with studios that, like, maybe they have like, for example, what makes Halo special? It's a pretty standard FPS, right? There's nothing like super fancy.
Themselves right? After that last game.
Sure. But like, like the first 3 titles, for example, right?
Yeah.
Why did people buy those? And why was there such a big fan base? I could ask the same thing about something like Star Wars, right? Why are those so popular? It's the story, right? It's People buy into the characters, the themes, all that kind of stuff. A laser gun is a laser gun. I mean, there's a million sci-fi movies out there. Why are they not all popular? It's not because they have laser guns and spaceships, right? It's because they told a story and there was actually like something intuitive about it. And so that's kind of the stuff we would prefer to like kind of for like that those are the kind of people to work with, but we're still kind of pretty far out from that. But yeah, in terms of the whole like asset flip thing, I mean, no one's able to take it and just go make like some crappy asset flip game and put it up on Steam. Even if they were able to find a way to do that, Valve has recourse for us to be able to pursue taking stuff like that down. So like, yeah, I'm not worried about that.
That's awesome.
Closing here, Gooms, say you're talking to someone who's never heard of Operation Harsh Doorstop, and you're kind of giving them a quick like why you should play it. In closing, why should you, viewers watching on YouTube or viewers watching on Twitch right now, why should we play Operation Harsh Doorstop?
That's
I'll make it easier for you.
Broad question.
I'll make it easier for you. Why should you be paying attention to Harsh Doorstop?
Bingo.
Sure. Because you're sick of the way the industry is going, and you're sick of putting your thoughts out there and not being heard. And I mean, maybe you didn't grow up in a time like us old folks who, grew up with like dedicated community ran servers and the like heavy modding scenes and stuff like that. But like the industry is just hasn't been going in that direction. I think we see the way it's going with games as service models, Xbox Game Pass, which is like an awesome value, but like, we constantly kind of see community aspects of games kind of constantly being stripped out of the experience, where they can continue to kind of control all the servers, they control the way the community functions, they control what they put in your face. I mean, one of the big, limited time game modes, come on, bro. Like how many times have we seen that in like the new CODs where they're like, hey, limited time, 24/7 shipment, bro. What if I just want to play 24/7 shipment? I bought this game for $70, right? Like why do I need to wait for you to do that? I really shouldn't have to do that, right? So, yeah, I would say, this is kind of like, not to be vulgar, but it's almost kind of a big middle finger, to be honest, to the way the industry is going, and kind of saying, you know what, we've tried, we've been in discussions with all these people, and we've tried to see and realize consumer friendly changes and stuff like that, and they're just not doing it. So we're going to do it. And it's not the best game in the world. It's not the most perfect thing, but it's ours. And, we're going to do it, and there's nothing you can do about it. That's it. Right.
Yeah. It's just great to hear that, people that like gaming are making their own games and not, monetizing the hell out of it. They're just making games for the love of games. It's awesome.
Yeah. You can sense the passion, and it's awesome. It's really refreshing.
Well, Gooms, it's been an absolute pleasure, man, to have you. I know our audiences here have absolutely loved having you, man. We'll go ahead.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll go ahead for your time, man.
We'll go ahead and call it here.
You too, guys.
Again, check out Operation Harsh Doorstop on Steam. Link is in the bio, and link is in the Twitch chat right now. Check out Fresh Baked Goods on YouTube, and if you like the channel, go ahead and like. And we'll go ahead and call it here. We're gonna go ahead and raid B-Boy. He's another Harsh Doorstop player, it looks like.
There you go.
And guys, much love. See you later.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
guys.
You guys, thank you for everything.